This is the Holy Gospel according to Matthew, the 5th chapter, the portion we know as the Beatitudes. And it begins when Jesus talks to his disciples up on the mountain, teaching them. To hear this anew today, I offer you to remember that you too are Jesus' disciples, and Jesus continues to speak to us today, saying, "Blessed are you who are poor in spirit, for yours is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you who mourn, for you will be comforted. Blessed are you, the meek, for you will inherit the earth. Blessed are you who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for you will be filled. Blessed are you, the merciful, for you will receive mercy. Blessed are you, the pure in heart, for you will see God. Blessed are you, peacemakers, for you will be called children of God. Blessed are you who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for yours is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." This is the gospel of the Lord. Please be seated. I must remember to welcome the folks who are with us online at Trinity Lutheran Church in Herkimer this morning. I was meditating on the Beatitudes all week, trying to find the connection between us and the people that Jesus originally spoke to, trying to figure out where is our place in this grand scheme of who is blessed and how. I looked to the words of Father James Martin, who some of you may have heard interviewed yesterday afternoon on NPR, or at least I did. And that confirmed what I bring to you today about blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the meek, for you will inherit the earth. And blessed are the pure in heart, for you will see God. I just want to look at those three Beatitudes today, because taken together, they help us make sense of our lives. The poor in spirit are these: the disappointed, the overscheduled, those who have the sense of never having done enough or never being enough, those who experience the crushing weight of lives in which hunger and thirst and sickness are not just concepts, but the lived experience. And blessed are you when you notice and when you grieve that this is true. The beginning of the spiritual life is a poverty of spirit. It means essentially humility. It means an understanding of our reliance on God. About a year ago, I was installed as the pastor of this church, and Laurel made cookies for that occasion, frog cookies, that I learned frog is an acronym for fully rely on God. It is a countercultural thing that frees us from arrogance. It frees us from having to figure out why things are the way they are and why we cannot seem to fully change it. And the suffering goes on. The poor in spirit also includes those who are materially poor, whose spirits are crushed by economic injustice, deprivation of resources, and few options. When we lament the conditions in the world, we align ourselves with that kind of poor in spirit. It hurts our hearts to know the disparity between those who are rich and those who are unfathomably poor. It can make us feel guilty for what we have, but That was never the intent when Jesus spoke then or now. The ache that we feel on behalf of the poor, the unwelcome, the sick, the uninsured, the frightened, connects us by giving us a way to act upon our faith. We reach out. We be uncomfortable. We be generous. In this way, the poor in spirit is not just a condition of the poor over there. The poor in spirit are those who are anxious and those who cry out for peace when there is no peace, and those who wonder, even as they kneel beside their bed, does this matter? Is this working? The poor in spirit are those who become despondent because they're always seeking to fix or recover or plan or schedule or work or strive or do. This is how we are the poor in spirit. We cannot fix all that needs fixing. We may have creature comforts of the world, but the pain in the world that surrounds us has an abiding effect on our hearts. Who this week did not weep at some of the images you saw this week? Who this week did not weep when they saw a 5-year-old who was detained and suffering? This is who we are as disciples of Jesus Christ. The poor in spirit may rest as much as anyone, but their rest is not always restorative. They have full calendars, beeps on their watches and on their phone, reminding them of appointments, commitments, and deadlines. They have plans. And when those plans are interrupted or canceled completely, as many were during COVID, and many are, as people die and our churches are less full and our resources are fewer, that too is to be poor in spirit. Population mapping of the Roman Empire indicates that as many as 80% of the population in Jesus' day lived near, at, or below subsistence levels. 80%. They struggled to have enough material resources, enough nourishment, enough resistance to disease. They knew economic deprivations and pressures. They lived in urban overcrowding. They faced natural disasters without FEMA and occupational accidents without workman's comp. They were enslaved, or they were banished from the very places where they might get what they need because the people who were already there were embarrassed. Stress and violence was part of their daily existence. The corrosive effect of poverty and stress on mental and physical health is well documented, and don't we know it now too? This beatitude does not romanticize poverty, nor is it Jesus scolding you. Sometimes we can hear the Beatitudes as Jesus scolding us, and that was never the intent. Instead, these recognize the corrosive and crushing impact on human lives over time when you do not have enough or you cannot do enough. The irony here is that whatever we do, confronting systems of power and prejudice that are often held together by violence, whatever we do does not include violence. And oh, isn't it sometimes tempting when we see injustice upon injustice harming God's beloved people and creation? Isn't it tempting to give in to that? It doesn't include violence, but it also doesn't include looking away. And sometimes we think violence would be far easier. If we look to the actions of Jesus, what did Jesus do? Jesus walked from place to place, healing some, but not all. Jesus had dinner with a few, but not so many. Jesus taught those who were thirsty for knowledge and understanding. And this is the way that Jesus equipped and equips his disciples, just 12 disciples, to carry on the mission of taking the good news to the world. Talk about a daunting task. And imagine today if classrooms were limited to just 12 students. How different the experience of learning would be for those students, how different the experience of teaching would be for those teachers. This is the model that Jesus provides. This is what helps the kingdom of heaven break through human agony and usher in moments of peace. And then there's blessed are the meek. Meek might be even more of an uncomfortable word. Meek conjures up doormats, a person devoid of self-confidence, a person lacking self-respect. When was the last time you heard someone say, I really like that guy, he is so meek? Or when's the last time anyone at work said, you know, we really should hire her, she's the meekest candidate who's applied? The world tends to look with disdain on the meek, doesn't it? Yet meekness is an attribute that Jesus calls blessed. Jesus probably had in mind the word anawim. The anawim were not simply the meek, but those who were so poor or weak that they knew they depended utterly on God. It's another underlying of resilience or reliance on God. And then the third one I want to mention today is blessed are the pure of heart, the clean of heart. Clean like recently washed clothes, clean like grain that has had impurities removed, or clean like a substance that has not been mixed, is not water mixed with wine. But mostly, pure of heart refers to motives. A person not acting out of self-interest and whose inner and outer lives correspond, who what they believe is what they do. For what they practice is who they are. If a person places his or her own needs second, they are humble. And so through this gospel today, Jesus spoke to the poor in spirit, to the meek, and to the pure of heart among others. And Jesus speaks to us today. Jesus sits with the suffering, whether the suffering is physical or mental or spiritual. Jesus sits with those who are experiencing sheer exhaustion, those who know they need to get up and do something and cannot find it within them to even stand. Those who know they're not working at peak productivity and cannot find it within themselves to do so. Those who are beaten down by life. And Jesus also reminds us that in our anxiety and despair and frustration, in our being, the poor in spirit, you and me, Jesus reminds us that our work is not in vain and that our work is not all there is. Noticing the inbreaking of the kingdom is also part of being a disciple of Christ. Perhaps some of you, like me, have been following the journey of the peace monks. Anyone know about the peace monks? Hey, good. Nearly 24 Buddhist monks have been walking for peace from Texas to the White House in Washington, D.C. They're in Virginia today. You can follow them on a map. Their journey is almost done. Nearly 24 monks from the Huangdao Vipassana Bhavana Center in Fort Worth, led by Bhikkhu Panakara. They're walking 2,300 miles to promote national healing, unity, and compassion. The journey began on October 26th and is expected to end on February 12th. The last time they did such a walk was in 1992. Interviewed, this is how they explained what they're doing. We walk not to protest, but to awaken the peace that already lives within each of us. The walk for peace is a simple yet meaningful reminder that unity and kindness begin with each of us and can radiate outward to families, communities, and society as a whole. This walk is more than a journey. It is an offering to the community. The Walk for Peace invites all people, regardless of faith, culture, or background, to come together in the spirit of compassion, mutual respect, and understanding. They say our walking itself cannot create peace, but when someone encounters us, whether by the roadside, online, or through a friend, when our message touches something deep within them, when it awakens the peace that has always lived quietly in their own heart, something sacred begins to unfold. This is our contribution, not to force peace upon the world, but to help nurture it, one awakened heart at a time. And so I ask you, those who have been following the Monk's Peace Walk, has it had this effect on you? Have you periodically, day to day, said, I've read enough, it's time for me to check on the Peace Walk? It's time for me to look at the pictures of the monks. It's time for me to read about those who have encountered the monks, who went out to see them. It's time for me to remember Aloko, their dog who is leading the charge, who recently had surgery for a bad leg, who someone offered a baby buggy to push him because at first he could only walk 10 minutes a day. Those of us who have surgery know what that kind of patience is about. The peace monks, who remind us in their walking that sometimes simply putting one foot in front of the other is the point. Sometimes we make it so hard in this world, and Jesus comes to say, peace be with you. My peace I give to you. The monks have been widely welcomed in differing religious institutions, different communities across the country, as they preach their message during this particularly divisive time in the United States. Today after worship, we have our annual congregational meeting, and Trinity, you will have yours in 3 more weeks. At these meetings, we remember and think about what we have done as a community of faith in the last year. We make plans and talk about what we might yet do, what is demanded of us at this moment in history. We look at the resources we have to follow the calling of Jesus. And as Jesus did, as the monks are doing, and as we are called to do, we keep walking. We keep wheeling. We keep hobbling. We keep moving. We try to carry the peace of Christ within ourselves. We remember and remind one another that the work we do is not in vain. And that the witness of these monks reminds us that by staying the course, we too may see the kingdom of heaven breaking in. Amen. Thank you for listening to Take Off Your Shoes. Let me send you out now with this blessing. May God give you the grace never to sell yourself short, grace to risk something big for something good, and grace to remember the world is now too dangerous for anything but the truth and too small for anything but love.